this is something that I find really fun, because this is the first instance that your players, if you're starting a brand new campaign, this is the first legitimate playground of civilization that they get to experience. There are very specific things that you will need at the bare minimum in order to make this village or town work for your campaign. The very first thing will be, of course, a tavern or an inn. A place for libation, food, sleep, something that supports travelers on their journey for whatever business or pleasure that they are partaking on their journey to this village. Then, of course, you will need at least one general store, trading post, or renowned place of business. Some sort of location that represents the foundation of some sort of economics. A general store or trading post, which will have any number of items for sale and may invest in potentially some quirky items for adventuring types. It could be that there are multiple stores and that each of these stores could invest in a particular trade. You could have a tailor, you could have a blacksmith, you could have somebody that works with leather. The more options that you have on the table, the more you have to populate the city to justify the level of commerce that you brought to the city. So you will have to have a number of homes. I would say at the very least 5 to 8 cottages, houses, huts, depending upon how large you want to make this town. You definitely want to have a particular ratio of residents to business owners, because you have to factor in that any individual that lives here likely has a family, more than just themselves running the storefront, and that there will be a number of individuals that perhaps work in very different trades than what are typically seen in the downtown. You could have fishermen, farmers, people that work in an arboretum. The term is escaping me. People that work with trees. You need to have a supply of food in this town. You need to have at least 3 farms. 2 of these farms will be fully planted throughout the year. One of them will be kept open to fill in the gaps between seasons of planting and harvest. And then, of course, if you're going to have a supply of food, you are going to need a warehouse, a place that is for food and grain storage, something that is near the central green of the town so that it is within watchful eye of many of the individuals that live there, so that they can make sure that people are not stealing food or stealing grain. You will need some sort of town square or courtyard, a place where during times of festivities or times of social gatherings or times of important business, people can all gather. Is the perfect location because it is the intersection between the livelihoods, the commerce, and the governance of the city or town. But of course, that isn't the only thing you'll have in the center of town. You will have some sort of central building that is a gathering place, an indoor gathering place. It could be a church, a temple, a great hall, if you fancy consolidating your gathering location with a place of libation. It could be the keep if you have a particular city or town that is lorded over by a lord within his manor. You are likely to have perhaps a Motte and Bailey setup, which is a keep on top of an elevated earthen platform, whereas the town or city is surrounding or below it. We cannot forget the defenses of the town. The town will be utilizing the raw materials nearby it in order to make it a favorable location to live that is protected from the threats that may exist outside the city or town. And so you will need a watchtower or few in order for individuals to be able to keep a keen eye on the whereabouts of individuals outside of the town and potential threats that may be approaching the town. You will need a wall in order to protect the buildings and the peoples within the town from any threats that may approach it. That could be made of wood or stone, depending upon the abundance or the prominence or effectiveness of one or the other. The series of walls will need a gate or portcullis in order to allow people inside and out, an intersection of access and security. You can build a trench or moat, depending upon the size of the town, the nearby location of a creek, of a lake, of a river. This can be any degree of size, complexity, or availability. As I mentioned, a Motte and Bailey is something that is an earthen mound or hill or something to provide elevation to the keep or center of town, whoever is the mayor or council or leaders of the town, because it is the most secure location. Upon this hill, you may have a keep. It could be the location of the church or temple. It could be the location of the meeting hall. Could be the location of the tavern. And of course, if it is a large enough city, it is going to need a garrison. It is going to need a city watch, a barracks, an armory in order to supply the city watch with the necessary weapons. One thing that does make or break a lot of towns and cities is industry. Whatever raw material, whatever resource can be extracted or manufactured, whatever particular purpose or good it can provide to a network of other cities and towns near it, this is something that centrally defines what the livelihoods of the individuals that live there are like, what sort of goods and services you're likely to find, what sort of policies are going to be put in place when the individuals at the top are making their decisions, what exactly the garrisoned individuals there are protecting and where they place their guard towers. That is, let's say, aside from the citizenry. And if it is a large enough city, it'll be able to answer this question of industry multiple times over, which means you'll be able to add houses and farms and stores and markets multiple times over. So at the end of the day, that is pretty darn essential to creating a starting village or city. I just want to say it has been a pleasure and a privilege, and I, Chaotic and Writer, will see you in the next episode.